about 3 or 4 offers while I was in the UK. Yeah, I'm the first graduate in my family, so there's a lot I had to think about, right, when I make choices. So the day she called me, I was like, KPMG would like to offer you, like to offer you an assistant manager role in the UK. I was like, sorry, are you sure? I literally told her on the call, like, are you sure? He said, yes, they'll send the offer now. They forwarded the offer to me. So, and I think that's what, for people that are back home or that are not in the country, I think that's what is very crucial. What is needed? What would a recruiter or an employer be willing to sponsor for? Like, what are the skills they're looking for? What are the skills that are, they are yearning. In my office, I recruit, I interview people for roles and everything like that. And I remember there was a time where we had 2 people, right? I interviewed someone and a partner interviewed another person, and the partner is the most senior person in the office, right? But I stood behind the person I interviewed because I knew this person should join us. And I wrote to the HR that this person deserved to be given an offer. And then
hello everyone. On today's episode we have Yomi.
Yeah, thanks for having me around. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah.
Good to have you, Yomi. Yeah, so just a quick one. How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel excited and also happy to share my experience and any way that could impact someone out there. And just to share my story.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on this platform.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
I'm really, really grateful. Thank you. Just a brief bio. Yomi Solanke is a chartered accountant with over 6 years experience in the financial services industry, having worked with top global firms including KPMG and PwC. He currently works as an audit manager, banking and capital markets at Forvis Mazars in the UK, where he leads audit engagements for major financial institutions and multinational corporations. Grounded in faith and purpose, Yomi became the first in his family to earn a university degree. Impressive.
Thank you.
Graduating top of his department and faculty through an academic scholarship. Wow. Today, Yomi continues to live his faith in action, serving on the board of a charity, supporting those affected by the war in Ukraine. Wow. Mentoring students at Intro University and inspiring others to work in purpose and integrity. Thank you for so much for all you do behind the scenes.
Thanks.
Well done.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thank you.
So just so that I can ease you off a bit, we have an icebreaker. So you get to pick between questions 1 to 20.
Okay.
So give me 2 numbers.
I like number 7. And then, also number 3.
Oh my gosh. Hepzibah picked the exact same number.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you. And Ademola picked 7 too. Yeah. I know it signifies perfection, but I don't know what you guys like.
Yeah, because I'm also born in July, so 7 is very close to that for me. Yeah.
Oh, that's 7th July. You were born on 7th July.
No,
okay, the month 7th. Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's close to that for me.
Me, I'm 20th July. Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm 21st. So 3 times 7.
Oh my God. Okay, 3 and 7. Number 3. Have you ever grieved a version of yourself that you had to leave behind in order to survive here?
Yeah. That's actually a very interesting question. And yes, I think I have. I remember coming to the UK and, coming there, and I don't really have a lot of people here that I really know. Right. And for me, I can easily relate with people. Okay. Right. But coming around and I don't really know people around, it was a bit more like I really need to first take my time, settle in, kind of manage that side of me that I like to be out with people or really, because I don't really know much people at that point in time. So I think in the beginning, I really I had to just have that side of me at the back, put it aside a bit. Right. And, try to get used to the area, just understand how things works here. And over time, then I got used to how things works. And then Yeah, and before you know it, I think that side is back now, though. I mean, I really want people, but at that point, initially, I had to really, put that aside and learn how things works, and also then learn people in a different way. So yeah, so
I see. So you grieve the friendship that you used to have back in Nigeria.
Yes.
I see. And I'm thankful that you at least you have new friends here.
Yes, yeah, I have a lot of them now, so which is good.
Yeah.
But I still miss the ones I have at home anyway.
I know. But so how do you keep the relationship going with the ones back at home?
Yeah, we don't talk every time, but because we had strong bonds, like some of them when we pick up conversation from time to time, we actually either reach out and then we have like an extensive conversation that we catch up on almost everything that happened in time past. I never look like it doesn't feel like, sometimes, some people you have them, I feel like, oh, you're not friends anymore because you don't keep touch. But because of the kind of relationship we've built, even though we're not talking every time, when we pick conversation up in those period, it feels like we've always been together. So, and sometimes we always look out for one another. Yeah. So if there are news that I heard, I reach out and I think, and we always have periodic, touch points anyway. Exactly. Yeah, that's how I really keep up with them. And so
I just hear intentionality because despite the distance, you're still trying your best to reach out and still be intentional about the friendship. Yeah. That's impressive. So number 7, has success in the UK ever cost you a relationship back home?
Wow. I thought this was meant to be an icebreaker. But this sounds to be very,
very deep, right?
Very deep, right? So, success in the UK. To be fair, yeah, I mean, there was some friendship I had back in Nigeria. I mean, of course, maybe some people that we grew up together and moving to the UK. At some point, some we couldn't keep up because of one. I had to get used to this area in the first place. And the timing couldn't work in terms of keeping in touch. And it felt at some point that either, being in the different climates, one has, there's this sentiment of thinking that, oh, it feels like you are no more in a clique, which was never necessarily the same, but that really affected the relationship, right? And we couldn't really keep up communication as much. I mean, there was a lot of trial, to the two parties really trying, but it wasn't really as much as the same anymore. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily success in the UK. I think it was just the circumstance really, and it really affected the communication, and then we couldn't really keep up, but we still, sometimes when I see the person's profile, I still comment, or he sometimes comments on my profile, but it wasn't that because we're solid friends at some point. So I wouldn't say it was success. I think it was just circumstance, and but I think that costed me that shot. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm sure emotionally that really did affect you.
Yeah, because this particular person was actually very close to me. Right. I mean, we went to secondary school together. We went to uni together. We lived together in uni. Right. And I finished uni. We were in the same campus fellowship in uni. We're part of ESCOs and everything. So it was, we did life together for more than 16 years. Right. So, and, but we don't necessarily have as much a strong bond as before. But that's, it can be emotional.
I wanted to ask, you're emotional?
It can be emotional. That's what I mean.
I see. Yeah, well, okay. Well,
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I know that it's bound to happen. Yeah. Let me see. So we're stepping into the questions itself now. So to question 1.
Okay.
Most immigrants are told that getting a sponsored job in the UK from their home country is close to impossible. You have done it more than once. How many times have you secured a sponsored job offer while still living abroad?
Oh, okay. While still living abroad, I've gotten about 3 or 4 offers while I was in the UK. Right. But overall, even while adding together when I was in Nigeria, the total offers I've gotten is about 5 or 6. Right. So, which are sponsored. Yeah. So I've gotten sponsorship around 5 to 6 times. overall.
An additional question to that is, in retrospect, do you think you did something uniquely that made you get 5 to 6 sponsorships?
Okay. I wouldn't say maybe uniquely, but I think there's a way I think, right? For me, I'm always strategic about, one, my life choices, right? And, like you were reading earlier, I'm the first graduate in my family. So there's a lot I had to think about, right? When I make choices. So, for example, when I was entering PwC back in 2020 now, as I was entering PwC, I already decided that in 2 years I was going to leave PwC and I was going to try to harness all the resources and skills I need to prepare myself to either leave the country or be able to get a very senior role in the industry. Right. So I remember speaking to one of my friends back in 2020 then. We just entered together and I discussed with her and I told her that same goal. And down the line, 2021, December, I got my first UK offer. And and I got it like just after having 1 year, maybe 8-month experience, right? For a role that takes 4 years experience. Because I got an assistant manager role, which you have to have 4 years experience, and they had 1 year, 8 months, right? But what I did differently that I believe really got me some of those roles because, like I said, I already said I want to leave PwC in 2 years. So when I joined, I started speaking to people. I spoke with I had a coach. PwC had a structure where you have a coach and a team manager. So I spoke with her that I would like to lead the engagement. And leading the engagement is the responsibility of experienced people. All right. So, and yeah, because I showed the interest. Yeah. And I was given an opportunity to lead 2 engagements at the same time. And on this engagement, there was no manager. So I was working directly with the partner and I delivered on time. I delivered even earlier than when it was delivered in the previous year. So that gave me all the experience I need because I was able to walk through audits from the beginning to the end by myself. So it gave me confidence I could speak anywhere. So that skills was translated into what was on my CV. And then when I applied for a job, the offers came in. And but maybe we'll get there in the course of the interview. But that's, for me, I think I was strategic about yearning for skills that I need to be able to get some of the things that I want. So that's what made the difference for me. And I think that's what I did differently.
Can I correctly confirm that you're a very curious person? Like, you are always wanting more because you were very strategic here. It's quite all right. And anybody that was in the same position that you were in, I'm saying that what did you also do differently? Like, what I mean is, I like that you had a definite time where you wanted to be in PwC and when the opportunity came, like you were able to take advantage of it. I'm just talking about like the interpersonal skills that you put in place. Like maybe let's say there's an opportunity here and then you just jump on it immediately. Is that curiosity? Is that extra hard work? Is that extra time and effort that you put above every other person?
Yeah. So like I was saying, right. So one of it was always going out of my way to get, even what is not necessary for my level. Like I said, leading an engagement is not a skills that for my level associate you don't expect to have it at that point in time. So I was curious. I knew that was important for me to be able to get any unexpected role out there. So, because my seniors, they can do it. So I believe I could do it. So I yearned for it. I asked for it and before time. And I was given the opportunity because I asked for it. Because I know that's one of my principles sometimes. And this has actually helped me over time. And I remember even when I said I had academic scholarship when you were reading out in uni, right? I yearned for it also. I just walked up to a lecturer and I was like, I would like to be sponsored. And I was like, and he was asking me some ridiculous questions, right? Which is, why do we think we should sponsor you? And like, cause I know I need it, but I believe I'm also excellent in my studies. And then that semester finished and I had one of the best results in the department, right? And then that proved it, right? And then the next semester I was sponsored by someone that is in KPMG, right? So sometimes you go out for things. And I think that's the skills I've had right from time. So which took me when I took it also over when I was in PwC and I got those skills and then really helped me ready, right, for the roles that I applied for when I applied for like KPMG out of like in the UK and things like that. So yeah, I think for me, what I do differently is I ensure that I know the skills needed for wherever I want ahead, right? And I start getting those skills now. I don't wait for, I mean, sometimes some skills are meant to be acquired over time. Sometimes I don't necessarily wait for maybe if it's said to be in 2 years, I can actually get it now. So I believe I can do it now. So I get those skills now and I move so that's where I believe I've always been working, right? Knowing what is needed and, going for it at that point in time, even if it's not your time, but just, so yeah, that's the way. That's what I get.
I'm honestly so impressed. You yearned for it. That's so, you spoke up and you asked for it and you actually showed evidence as to why. Well done, Yomi. So question 2, when the first sponsored offer came through and you were still at home, what was that moment actually like? And did any part of you struggle to believe it was real?
Wow, I struggled. I actually struggled a lot. And to be fair, because I said earlier, the whole process really started around, I think, November. Around October, November. Right. And how did it start? Then I just got my professional certification, like in Nigeria. And one of my colleagues came back from Abuja and went for the induction together. And then in the car, we're going together and he told me that people are leaving Abuja, they're traveling out of the country and stuff. So I was like, oh, yeah, I've been hearing that. What's going on? He said, people are actually getting stuff from LinkedIn. I was like, really? And from that day, I just, went home after we're done with the induction and I just went on LinkedIn, started looking because I feel like I have every other thing. The skills I was looking for already had it. I also had the certification. So I just started applying and that was when, I applied and I got a recruiter on LinkedIn. I applied for one of their roles and the recruiter was in South Africa but recruiting for the UK. Right. And then I spoke with this recruiter for the first time and the recruiter was saying a lot of good things like, oh, your resume is so beautiful. They are really in need of me in the UK. I was like, yeah, I want to go to the UK. And she said, I'll get you like up to 3 interviews first week of December. I'm like, okay. We just started. Like, why are you telling me date timeline? I said before Christmas, you're going to have an offer. It felt like it's not real. Actually, on the 23rd of December, I got my first offer. The day she called me, I was like, KPMG would like to offer you, like to offer you an assistant manager role in the UK. I was like, sorry, are you sure? I literally told her on the call, like, are you sure? He said, yes, they'll send the offer now. They forwarded the offer to me. And she forwarded it. I was working that day. My head was just gone because I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Genuinely, I couldn't believe it. And I had to think about it again. I was like, I called one of my friends, like, wait, though, he said, give me an offer, I was a manager. Because genuinely, like at that time, I said, in PwC, I've only had 1 year, 8 months experience, right? And to be an assistant manager, I need like 4 years. That's what it's, so I'm like, wait, I'm skipping 2 years. Well, this is looking real, but like, is it real? Until I got my visa, I was still doubting it, genuinely. So, I wasn't sure. Like, I felt like maybe it's not real. It wasn't real. Right. But yeah, here we are today. So when I got the offer, I didn't believe it. But yeah.
This is an additional question back to you. My question is, how was the interview process? How was it like?
So, I had two phases of interviews, but like before then, right? I've been prepping for a lot of interviews, right? And even the recruiter back in South Africa that I mentioned, right? We did a little series of prepping. So when I got to the interview, they asked like technical questions, tell me about yourself, and which are things I've already prepared for. So it was a very good, interview, like, very, conversational. I see. Right. And because of my experience already, I was really able to talk about even the technical bit. So the point is as far as, you talk about, tell me about yourself, you need to ensure that you know your onions, right? And I think that was one of the things that really stood out. So because I had the confidence then and I was able to really speak to my experience, I was really able to speak about even some of the most technical and difficult areas that, that was very pronounced in the industry at that point in time. So I've worked on them practically. So I highlighted them and I could see even in the face of the directors and the
That they were
partner, like
impressed.
they were very impressed. So, and which is why even now I really speak to a lot of my friends. I prep a lot of my friends for interviews because, yeah, I feel like for job interviews specifically, I feel like it's like bread and butter at some point, because when you know how.
Hi there. On the 20th of June, I'll be hosting a free CV workshop where I and some other facilitators will be looking at your CVs, sharing tips with you, teaching you how to maximize your LinkedIn, and also giving you interview tips. If this is something that interests you, or this is something that you would like to know more about, click the link in the bio and register. And also keep an eye out, because in the coming weeks there'll be more information that will be shared. Now back to the video. Bye for now.
It goes, right? You can know your answer. You can know your result even while you're at the interview phase, like while you're still in the interview. So, so for me, it was more of one, being able to speak about myself, right? Properly articulating who I am, right? What I can offer you, what is my experience like, and how is my experience relatable to you? And also, in terms of what do I want to get out of, because they also want to know what's the interest, what interests you about the role and the location, right? So, and I think those are what I was able to communicate. And yeah, I actually, to be fair, even though I had doubts in my mind in terms of like the role, right? I knew that the interview was excellent and it was going to be positive, but there was just a side of me like the role was more than me, which was the doubt side when even I got the results. But like, yeah, it was two levels of interviews, like I said. So we had the technical with the director, and then we had a partner interview, which is like the most senior person, part of the ownership structure of the business. So yeah, and that was it.
Assistant manager. Well done. Well done, Yomi. Thank you. For me, I just see someone that puts in the work and then everything like pans out the way you have expected, because you actually did put in the work. Yeah. Well done. Number 4, a lot of immigrants never apply for roles that require sponsorship because they assume the employer will say no before the conversation even starts. How did you handle the sponsorship question with employers, and what did you learn about when and how to bring it up?
Okay, I think this one, I'm going to speak about it in two phases, right? I will speak about it back getting my first job in Nigeria and then now in the UK, right? Because like I said, I've gotten like 3 offers in the UK and, 4 offers rather. And back to Nigeria one, right? I think the first thing is for a recruiter to know that you're out of the country and request you to come to an interview, right? Knowing fully well that you are out of the country, it means that they have the resources to sponsor, right? And what you really need to do is that you need to let them know that you deserve the sponsorship. So, and I think that's what, for people that are back home or that are not in the country, I think that's what is very crucial. What is needed? What would a recruiter or an employer be willing to sponsor for? Like, what are the skills they're looking for? What are the skills that are, they are yearning to get someone for? If you can have that skills and your resume can show it, right? Because there are two different things. You can have the skills and not properly communicate it well in your CV or in your resume, right? So get the skills that is in demand, that you know that they want to sponsor for. Let your resume speak for it. Then apply. When you get to an interview, when they call you for an interview, it means that recruiter is open to sponsor for someone that is out of the country.
Yes.
Now, but for people that are now within the country, within the UK, right, that is different ballgame, because you are within the country. The conversation is different because, for example, on your title of your resume is already showing that you are in UK, right? So they don't necessarily presume that you either need a sponsorship or not, right? So
I see.
Yeah. So how to bring that up, right, in terms of sponsorship is first. There is a word they used to say that when you go to meet people, always go with your strength first. Firstly, go with what you can offer. Like, go with what makes you a strong person for that role. And I used to, because I've spoken with some people in investment banking, right, where they say that sometimes some jobs can say that they doesn't have sponsorship, but actually the job the role manager that in the unit that they're recruiting for can actually decide if they can sponsor. And how do they make that decision? Sometimes they look at the people that if they believe that this person actually, we would want this person to be in our team because of what they have, because of their skills, they would go out of their way to get you in, right? And I'll give it also a typical example. Now, I mean, in my office, I interview people for roles and everything like that. And I remember there was a time where we had two people, right? I interviewed someone and a partner interviewed another person, and the partner is the most senior person in the office, right? But I stood behind the person I interviewed because I knew this person should join us. And I wrote to the HR that this person deserved to be given an offer. And then I think the partner also wrote that about the person. Yeah, the other person. But the HR reached out to both of us that, okay, we only have one role to fill. So how do we do it? They had a call and between myself, the partner, and they had to ask that, what can we do? It's only one person. And I had to reiterate again that I interview this person and I believe in the skills that this person have. And the partner was like, okay, yeah, let's give it to the person. And, said, I believe we have a temporary role that we are trying to fill. Can we make the temporary role permanent? And then we get this other person to fill sometimes. And why? Because that person created an impression in him and he felt like we need to have this person. So sometimes, we having conversation about sponsorship. Yes, we should have it, but the timing is very important. You need to first put your strong foot forward first, right? Let them know that you deserve to be sponsored. That even if they don't have the resources, they wouldn't mind, right? Getting the resources, getting the license, getting the COS to be able to sponsor you. So, and that's actually how I would say it. So that's the two different angles to it, right? So because for me, when I applied for most roles, right, already I knew because when I applied to a company, right, because of my experience, they sent me an interview. They just sent me an interview. What's it called? Like invite straight. And then we had the interview. At that point, I don't necessarily ask them if they want to sponsor again because I know, right, that they could already see based on my profile that I need sponsorship, right? So, and sometimes also with HR, sometimes HR call is always the first one. So when the HR have a conversation, just check on my experience again, just to see if it aligns what I'm my CV. And they're like, oh, and they just confirm again, do you need sponsorship? I was like, yeah, I do need sponsorship. They're like, okay, that's fine. We would send you an invite for the next interview because we would still like to have you. So, but the very much important thing, like I was saying again, is people really need to be able to own their skills, be able to communicate what make them stand out, right? What an employer wouldn't mind sponsoring is very key. So, and that's it. That's the first win for you. If you don't have that, it's hard to even have the conversation.
Exactly.
So you need to first have that. That needs to be there first. So that's the way.
So put your strengths forward every single time.
Every single time. Yeah.
For someone that is watching now that has made mistakes in the past whereby they haven't put their strength forward and obviously like they are lacking in so many areas, what would be your advice to them right now?
Well, that's a very profound question. And I feel like there are different people in different buckets, right? I will speak to maybe if we start from someone that already had the skills, but maybe they didn't just present it properly. Now, so meaning one, they need to start looking into their resume again, right? Tighten it up. They should even self-reflect first, right? Do they have the skills in demand in the market that any recruiter in their industry is ready to pay for, is ready to sponsor, doesn't mind to even increase their resume and to increase their pay, because also sponsorship in the UK has even a minimum pay now currently, right? So you need to, look at some of those things. Because I have friends, for example, one of my friends finished from Cambridge rather.
Okay.
And when she finished, we're both back in PwC, but now she came to the UK, for masters and everything. And when she finished, she got a job. I mean, of course, it took a while for her to get a job. She was applying, but she got a job with a company that wasn't necessarily sponsoring, but because they saw her skills, right? They actually had to apply for like license and then COS just for her. Right. And then she got the sponsor. She's with them now and every other thing. She said she wanted to give us 1 point, but they're like, no, they want to increase her salary because they know what she carried sometimes. So back to what I was saying, for people like that have the skills, you need to let your resume speak for you. You need to be able to reach out to people, go to networking events, engage with people. And this last one I just said, like networking event, I had a guy, we're together in my office, right? My current office, right? He's now in JP Morgan, right? As a vice president. And he was tired of my, he just wanted something different. Like, and how did he just get it? It was JP Morgan that people know as expected. Like they will sponsor, he got sponsorship in JP Morgan for a senior role more than what he was doing already. Right. And how did he went for some of these networking events and he was articulating his skills. He met with a lot of people from JP Morgan, articulating his skills all like every step of the way. Do you understand? And because when he was also in my office, he was involved in other things other than his primary role. He was involved in a lot of tech related projects. He's an auditor, but was involved in a lot of tech projects, a lot of hackathon and everything like that. And so when he went for some of those networking events, those are things he was speaking about. They were impressed and they invited him. From there, they invited him for an interview. Now he's in JP Morgan as a vice president. Sometimes it's some of these things. That's for someone that has the skills. But for someone that doesn't necessarily have the skills right now, is now to ask yourself, what skills do I need to harness? Like you need to get, because nobody will pay for, like nobody will sponsor you if you don't have a skills that they want. Right? So nobody will sponsor you if you don't have a skills that they want. And so it means that, you need to, you need to learn, you need to just brush up yourself, brush yourself, the skills that people are going to pay for, and then present yourself again. But some of these things I'm talking about, networking, and things like that, those are how you can really make yourself visible. So, yeah.
So whoever is listening, you've heard Yomi give you some of what to do. So go back to your drawing board and make these changes. So for question 5, what did your CV and application look like that made UK employers willing to sponsor someone they had never met, who was still living abroad? What were you doing that most people applying from home are not?
Yeah, that's a very great question. And I think it's some of the things that actually make the difference, right? Because I have also, like I said, I have a lot of my friends because when I was in PwC, I was in my level, I was the first person to move out, to leave the country, to get that offer. And then when I did, a lot of my colleagues were reaching out and they're like, how do you do it? And then we started applying the process. Like the same, I was reviewing their CV, helping them to update. And so just to speak about what I believe really works, and it still works. A lot of my friends are still moving in, but it has reduced now, right? Is firstly, speaking about it, you need to know what they want here. One, and you need to then have harness and learn the skills. And so, like I said, I led 2 engagements that in PwC. I knew that for me to be able to say that I have experience, I need to have done what the senior people, which is either a senior associate, we call it, or an assistant manager would have done. Yeah. And I yearned for it. I asked for it and I did it. I delivered. So I brought all that into my resume. So, because I have literally seen audit from the beginning to the end. So there is nothing employer would really want to ask for that I don't have. So that's why I yearned for it earlier on. So when I got it, I put everything on my CV and I articulated it properly. So one, get the skills and clearly articulate it. So for example, of course, if you need certification, get the certification, make sure your certification is on your resume. It's very important. Talk about make your resume specific. Right, because I think there's also a very, mindset around people are making resumes so generic. No.
Exactly.
Yeah, you need to be very, very specific. What did you do? How did what you do, what change?
What impact?
Yeah, exactly.
Quantify your achievements.
Make it measurable.
Yes.
And so, for example, you've done something. What does it result into? Exactly. How does it change things? For example, there was an automation stuff that I did then and reduces our cost about 10% or something. And also the way my coaching skills really, and which was one of my senior manager really said it in my feedback was in the previous year, when there was a senior manager on those 2 jobs, we signed our audit a month earlier. than them. Meaning we actually saved costs.
Yes.
Even earlier.
Mm.
Like we signed earlier, we saved costs, even than the previous year. Now, and I think those are things I called out in my CV. And also calling out the size of project that you work on is very important. Because if you work on a big client profile, call it out. Yeah, exactly. Some people say, no, call it out. You're selling yourself. You need to be able to let people know what you've done. If you've done great, because when I was in Nigeria, I used to audit one of the big banks. I call it out on my resume. I did the job. I was spending a lot of late nights, so I wouldn't just hold that back and say, I audit bank. I call it out. Even currently on my resume, some of my big profile clients here is there. You have to call it out because those are the things that was going to make it stand out. Because if a recruiter is like, if you have worked on this kind of profile, on this kind of clients, it means that we could actually
more than capable.
Exactly. So, and that was it. So I called out some of those specific things, some of the great achievement I've had, back in the uni days when I had my go almost 16 hours. I call it out because the point is it shows how excellent you are, right? Some things even speak to your soft skills that employers who are interested in.
Exactly.
So I call out some of those, other achievement I've had, and things like that. I think it's very, very important. Call out your skills, make it measurable, make it specific. Call out the certification you have and call out some milestones and achievements you've had. It speaks about you, who you are, and they can also decide if this person is excellent in these different phases of their life. I think we can commit some resources in this person's hand. And that's how recruiters actually think like that, because I've interviewed people and I see, these are some of the things I looked at. I look at and some of the questions that are always in the questionnaires that they give or the list of questions. Those are what is measuring.
Exactly.
So we really need to, be able to articulate that and also articulate your person. Let them be able to see your person from the resume. It is very important. Let your resume be able to also communicate your person. There is this generic understanding that let's just speak about your skills, about your technical knowledge. Not only that, let it speak to whom you are. What are the other things apart from just that primary role that you do? Some of those, for example, as you're talking about, okay, I've worked with some charity and they are on my resume because these are what speaks to my, my willingness to do beyond just my, primary technical engagements. And it speaks to my leadership role because I was a part of the board of the charity and we send aids like Ukraine, right? And when I was speaking to my current office, that's one of the things I spoke. That's one of the things that actually interests them a lot. How do you do it? What really great? And it took a lot of interview period, right? And people don't know some of those things actually make you stand out, especially for a place like UK, because they really like people that are interested in also making impact. Please, that does not mean that should replace your technical aspect, but if you do some of these things, call it out in your resume. It also speaks. So that's.
Thank you so much, Yomi. Honestly, it's we have our open stock class here. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you.
When I was applying to KPMG, one of the things was I saw what was on the island, and I like playing pool.
Yes.
And with a pool table, right? And in the interview, we actually spoke a lot about pool table, and they asked me why do I really like pool table? And the only reason because they used to call me sniper. So when I play pool table, and because I used to like look at it in a way. Okay, and when I told them so you really like to focus? Yes, I really like to pay attention and focus a lot. So, and that's why I like pool table, right? In the way to them, they actually took it that this is actually a very intentional and focused person. Sometimes some of these other soft skills speak to some of core skills they are looking for.